What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Survivor Now podcast. My name is Randy, and once again, I have the honor of being joined by a wonderful guest. She competed on the past season of Australian Survivor Blood versus Water with her father. You might be familiar with him, Juicy Dave, and accomplished more entertainment in 5 days than some of the people who made it farther in the game. I'm not going to name any names, okay? No names. But everybody, please help me by welcoming Briana. Briana, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Randy. Very excited to be here. And look, thanks for the wrap. That's a really positive way to look at just 5 games in the day. 5 days in the game.
Hey, you got to own every little second that you were out there in the game. It's tough. And I'm going to get to that because I know, just like us, you're a super fan of the game as well. So I'm interested to hear your side of things, how much harder it is once you get out there than when you're just, sitting at home and watching it. But first things first, I always like to start off my podcast on a light note. And what have you been doing since being on the show? So I just got to tell you guys, if you haven't been following Briana, she does her own podcast covering the great sport of basketball, which I'm sure we all love. You are a phenomenal roller skater. Like, I thought I was pretty good at roller skating. And then I see some of the adventures you and your friends go on. And I'm like, what? Coolest roller skates in the world, by the way. The rainbow roller skates.
You.
Love them. And then not only that, but I was actually, when I was putting the cover art together today with your photo on the picture, I found out you were an actress as well.
Yeah, like I do a bit of acting and presenting, all that jazz.
An ace of all trades here. So what have you been up to? Staying busy, it looks like.
Yeah, look, trying to. I would like to think of myself as what we call like a professional slashy. So that is someone who does multiple things. And I think that's just given the industry I work in. I've always loved film and TV and media. But especially here in Australia, it's an industry where you really do have to hustle. Some people can specialize in one area. I've just not been able to be that person myself. So, I got into it behind the camera. I'm fully trained in like film production. So I often work in a crew capacity, whether that's producing or working in production. But then I love, talking, and I can chew your ear off, I'm sure. So I love doing stuff like podcasts, commentating, presenting, and I've, done a little bit of acting and commercials as well. And then roller skating, bloody love that. It was a hobby that I've been able to monetize. So for me, I was working full time before going on the show. I did have to leave that job to do the show. So it did put me in a bit of a different place where coming back, I went into a freelancing period. So that's just really me, testing the waters, scattering seeds, as I like to call it, and seeing what sprouts. And I'm still in that phase now. So there's been many things that I've sort of done over this period, but just sort of working out where I next, do my real push and place my focus.
See, that's the crazy thing too. Finding out like behind the scenes and all that. Like, I just listed all that stuff, and then you're like, "Well, wait, there's more here." So that is incredible. And you bring up the game of Survivor, and after talking to your dad yesterday, like I said, you're a Survivor super fan. This has been in the making for a while now, trying to get on the show. So just kind of walk us through how this got started for you, how the love of the game got started, and that casting process of finally finding out you're going to be on the show. Because from what your dad said, you kind of said, look, Dad, you're going to do this with me, and you're just going to have to tough it out here. So walk us through this whole process here.
Yeah, definitely. Look, Survivor has been a lifelong dream of mine. I'm someone who sort of makes deals with myself. And one of them was I wasn't allowed to die until I'd be on Survivor. So now, fair game. But anyway, it was my dad who got me into it like years ago. I would have been anywhere from age 12 to like 14. So quite young, sort of tween age. And I remember being at home, sort of probably up later doing assignments at school and stuff. And Dad was like, "Oh, Briana, you need to check out this show." And he sort of called me over, and I'm like, "What is it?" And he's like, "Oh, it's just a bunch of random people on an island that have to survive." And I'm like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And he's like, "Yeah, and they do challenges, but they all scheme against each other." And I remember sitting down and watching it, and I got pretty obsessed. I was like, "This is so cool." And what I loved about it, and Dad and I both shared our love in, was it was such an evergreen format, just same deal. They don't have to change really what happens. They do a few different themes, but it's just innately interesting seeing, different personalities come in and this idea of survival. So that's kind of where that seed sprouted. And it was because of Dad. And then, soon afterwards, I sort of got a bit more into it than he did. Like, he'd be a casual watcher where I started living for it week to week, around study. And like a bit of a,
becomes a habit for you. Yeah.
Yeah, literally. I was like, my little study break, have my Survivor fixed. And I love the fact I had to like wait for it each week at a time. There's none of this binge watching, back in the noughties. Anyway, I think I made the decision, I don't know whether, it would have been early teens, that I was like, okay, fine, I will do this one day. I must do this. And back then, Australian Survivor wasn't even a thing when I was watching it. So when I heard that, US version. So that was why I was like, I don't know, I'll marry an American or I'll move over there. Like, who knows what I was going to do? But I was like, I'll get on there one day. And then the Australian version came out. So at this point, I just finished studying at university and saw that was open. So applied, made it very far along the audition process. I was actually in like the final sort of rounds right before you do your health check. Mm-hmm. And it was very exciting. Before COVID times, they'd do a lot of these things in person. So you literally have this like mini Survivor game in like a hotel that you show up for each day, and people get eliminated like from production each day. So it's pretty exciting. Anyway, back then I had a heart condition, and I've flatlined twice before, and
oh, wow.
They sort of so I've experienced the moment before death twice. Love that. Definitely impacts you. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm such a like live life to the fullest, maximize every moment.
Love it.
You never
Love
know.
It.
Yeah, so I think that's really a big part of my personality. So when I didn't make it on then, and I did this like survival camp too in preparation for it, where you don't eat, you sleep outdoors. And
wait, before the game?
Yeah. So just one I booked in myself. It was crazy. It was like a couple of days you didn't eat, you just slept outdoors, you built shelters, so it was perfect. It was with some SAS commander. And Elle, who actually went on the first season and dated Lee, she was there and we met, and I'm like, so she ended up going on and I didn't. And it was probably good because, to be honest, I probably would have been medevaced out. And so anyway, I had a procedure to cure my heart condition, and then I started working at Channel 9. So when you're at a competitor network, it's in your contracts that you can't apply for things other networks. So I was like, that's fine. I loved what I did. So the Survivor dream was put on hold, but they asked me to reapply for another season, and I always knew I would. So when COVID came in and shut down what I was working on, I was like, that's it, putting my application in again. And then excitingly enough, got a very early phone call, and I was really in the process right from when they finished the previous season, the Brains vs. Brawn, through to going ahead with the season we were on. So a very long audition process for me. And the whole point was they called me up and they were trying to be sneaky and being like, maybe you could, as a twist, bring a relative. And I was like, I see what you guys are doing. I know this is blood. I was like, I ain't no shrimp. So anyway, then I remember being like, I'd probably play with Mila. So I remember Mila and I, years before this was even in the works, discussing how we're like, we should do we were like Brains vs. Brawn or play together, because she's the basketball, she's a bit taller than I am, but we're both fit and we're pretty similar personalities in some regards, but we're like, we could be the total like Brains vs. Brawn dynamic, very much Kim and Chelsea vibes, who are two of my favorite players, and I love watching them play. But then she was in the States playing for Duke. Yeah. And so when they called me up, we were like, I remember chatting to her, would these dates work? And we worked out, no, there's no way she could do it. So they were like, well, who else would you play with? And I was literally thinking through my family, and I was like, well, to be honest, probably Dad. And Dad would probably be really good at it. But I knew Dad, had a lot of work, and, he wouldn't leave that lightly. But I was kind of like, come on, Dad, like Chrissy's arm a little bit, like, let's just hope. I was like, just do the interview with me and we'll work it out. Like, I was like, let's hope. They go, nah, you're boring. We'll just take Briana. And he was like, yeah, let's hope. But of course they love Dad. How could you not? So that's kind of the process. We ended up, making it through all these auditions. There was one stage where Dad almost couldn't do it because he couldn't get the time off.
Mhm.
And I had to audition like 5 other family members as well. Like I literally had to call second cousins I'd met once before when I was 12 because
Wow.
they just went through almost my entire family.
No chemistry there.
I know. I was like, I'm pretty sure they'll backstab me. Like,
Oh,
but
man.
it was quite hilarious. But thankfully, in the end, something changed with Dad's work, and he could make it. And the rest is history.
It was so fun watching you both play the game. And I just imagine being that lifelong like Survivor fan. I guess I said I could imagine. I guess I really can't. Like what it's like walking up, you're standing there with the rest of the cast, seeing Jonathan across the way. And I do have to throw out there, the game, and you know who Sandra is. And here comes Sandra in a helicopter, the queen of Survivor on the same in the same game as you are. That feeling has to be insane to feel like, holy cow, we're done with the casting process. We're actually here. So what was going through your mind in that moment? Yeah. It had to be surreal.
Yeah, look, there is so much build up with this process. Even with COVID, it was a month waylaid for when we were originally meant to start. 6 years in the making for me, having auditioned and then gone on. And then you're locked up, kind of, hidden from the world before you enter the game. And that's a very surreal, experience as well before you actually get to enter, but when you're on location. So to be honest, the whole experience is made worthwhile from that moment alone. Like it was like a dream. It really was the dream come true. I was asked the question like, when you're on, you've got kids, like what's the moment you're going to tell? That's really the moment that, I think, you'll carry forever. So it was amazing to be there with Dad as well. And it was just like, wow, we're actually doing this. We've done this. We've made it, because it's such an achievement to even get on the show. And then for the helicopter to fly in and Sandra to be there, I was like, all right, I can die happy. Like, I'm playing with Sandra. Like, how cool.
To have the chance to play with her. Yeah.
Exactly. And the fun thing is Mila graduates really soon. I'm actually flying to the States. I'm going to be in NC. And
that'll be fun.
Nina and Sandra up. We're going to have a little dinner. So very exciting time.
I am so jealous. I'm like, you are living my Survivor dream right now. I'm not saying it's not your Survivor dream, but we share a dream there. And I am so jealous.
Definitely.
Before we get into the game side of things, because I know I have you for a short time here, and I didn't exaggerate. The 5 days you were there was a lot that happened. So we have to get through all that as well.
Yeah.
But I have to apologize to you because this is what I found out. So your season was the first season that me and my fellow co-anchors at the Survivor Now podcast, we picked winner picks, and you were my winner pick. You were my preseason winner pick. And I have found out that is bad luck. That is terrible luck.
Oh,
because
look,
I was just going to say, because I just found out in US Survivor, I won't say who my winner pick was, but once again, my winner pick was the first one to go out of all of them.
No.
So it's not good. So you can blame your time on me, Briana.
You know what? You're just choosing big threats. Nah.
Exactly. That's how I like to look at it. But so you start off the game on the water tribe, and we see this from what the edit shows, and the edit isn't always right. We see this connection kind of form instantly between you and Shay. So there's been some talk amongst other podcasters and stuff. Were you guys really that close? Or was it a situation that the cameras just caught you guys talking a lot of the time? How close were you guys actually in the game?
Yeah, no, we were actually super close. So I feel like that and what was captured there was actually pretty accurate. So amazingly enough, it was Shay who chose me out. She sort of, and there was that early grab where she said, oh, Briana's just someone you sort of gravitate towards and you think, oh, yeah, I want to get in with her. So Shay really sought me out, and I was like, great. I'm thinking Kim and Chelsea. I'm thinking George and Cara. I'm also like thankful to have a friend and someone who sort of seems quite like-minded. We're both sort of like gym chicks who have a bit of fun, that sort of thing. And we're quite excited to be there. So we definitely gravitated towards each other. And it was really like, the cementing of that was her choosing to share that clue with me, which she absolutely didn't have to do. And we were also like snuggle buddies and would do most things together whilst also still trying to include everyone else. But there was a real connection there.
Well, you guys seem to work really well together. You said she comes up to you, she shows you the clue immediately. I can't remember, but did you guys know, before we get to it later in the whole idol pursuit, but did you guys know Chrissy like had the other half of the clue? When did that, hit you guys that she had that other part?
Yeah, so they actually showed it. So Shay was really quick in finding the clue. And then she showed me and we were like, oh, okay, there's another clue out there. We need to find it ASAP. So then we sort of go back out and then I see Chrissy find something. Geordie goes, whoa, and like makes the most ridiculous sound ever. And I turn and go, what did you find? A clue? And Chrissy just like hides it, ignores it. And we all like, I saw the scroll in her hand. There was a couple of other people around. And I even later like approached her about it and was like, oh, like, did you find something? And she just like full on ignored me. And I was like, I know you did. So like,
tell me. Like, go ahead and spill the beans.
And she just like, honestly, I don't even think she said anything. I just think she literally walked away from me and I was like, oh. But, so yeah, it was like we knew she had the other clue. Yeah. But she didn't, I don't think she told anyone about it. Like, I don't think she owned up to it, even though I would have been the third or fourth person to actually see her get it. So yeah, it was pretty obvious she had something because we all saw it.
That might have started I don't know if it was really a rivalry, but the Briana versus Chrissy kind of mini rivalry that was going down. I remember I hyped it up. That was one of the things I posted on social to hype up one of the episodes is we've got Briana versus Chrissy already. And
yeah,
that kind of picked up pace at the first challenge. Okay. You guys are having trouble smashing down that second door, which I'm sure everyone's going to sit at home and be like, why can't they get that open? And I'm sure it is 10 times harder than any of us could even imagine once you're actually out there and starving and everything. But you called a few people out for effort. You didn't really name any names or anything. I didn't think you did anything really bad. You just told Jonathan at the first tribal, look, there were some people who weren't really putting in the effort at the challenge today. I didn't feel like. So what was going on there? Was that towards Chrissy alone, or was it just kind of as a general tribe thing? Like, look, we could have done better today.
No, look, exactly what I said was that I felt like everyone gave their best effort, but some people have more or less to give. The truth of the matter was that Chrissy did rest in the challenge. She had to take breaks. And we were very unlucky with that challenge. We hit that door with Mark's strength and the rest of the team's strength 88 times. The other team didn't have to hit as much. So I actually think there was some difference or fault in the door personally. Most of us seem to think that because we busted open the first door much quicker than the first try.
You were in the lead,
And then we were just stuck. And it's not like anyone gave any. You watch that, everyone's giving everything. But the only way we eventually broke it down was just from not stopping. So that's why when we did have to stop, and if you watch the edit, you'll see that 3 different people have to say, hey, come on, let's keep going. So it was, and I'm someone who's grown up in sport. And when you're in a part of a team, people call truth. It doesn't have to be taken personally, but there are things where you go, hey, look, this happened. Someone might have let down D, and you go, look, we can do a bit better next time. So that's why and let's not forget too, I was definitely targeted by production. I would have been asked the same question over 2 hours about 8 times in that tribal. And what do? Take everything I said over a 2-hour period and put it back to back and change the order and just make it look like I absolutely had a shot. So, that's knowing how the game works. And I think all my comments were fair. And when they were spread out, it seems a little bit less intense. But I think, it was good for me to see that edit because I think put it all back to back and in that order. And I go, oh, okay, well, that's how it must have felt to Chrissy and probably why she, was rightfully offended. Whereas I think from my sporting background, like and Chrissy's got a sporty background too. So it's not that she's not used to that, but I think I'm someone who like, that's on me. We'll move forward. But I think she saw it. And especially in the Survivor context too, she saw it as someone's coming for me. Let's get her out. And that's where that rivalry started, where there was really no ill blood about it. But I was asked about the challenge and I was honest about, well, we did have to stop. And it was because of a certain someone who made us have to stop. It wasn't really a team thing. So that's where that sort of started. And then also, look, not going to lie, when she just came up and ignored me, I was a touch salty, but, again, everyone's playing a game. So people are going to do what they're going to do. So
now, I mean, naturally.
Yeah, and I love each other in real life, and like we're going to work together because her family's in basketball as well. So we're very well connected now, but it's just one of those rivalries that, the cameras can go for and pick on. And again, like all's fair in love and war and Survivor, and we just got pegged together early.
That's what
she took me out anyway, so she wins.
Yeah, she did win. I will just say, I love how you brought up the edit. It's hard for us back at home because you can never trust the edit. I mean, they made it seem like you were the paranoid playing too hard and stuff. And I didn't really see that during your time in the game. I'm like, she definitely is playing hard, but I also saw you in a position that you needed to play hard based off what we were seeing. And I want to go. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I think I was just going to say, look, I think my biggest downfall was that I was so excited. I think if you had to give like an analogy, it's like if you saw the Olympics last year in the 100-meter dash, there was the poor guy from Great Britain who false started. Like he just was so ready to win that race. He started too soon and he was disqualified. Honestly, that's probably the energy I went into it with. I was so ready to play, and the fear of not doing enough, I did far too much. And it was a bit of a false start.
Well, one of my favorite moments of the season, and it was so iconic, is when Shay and Chrissy were racing for that idol on the podium. And you just get up and you block Chrissy. You are in her way. And I'm like, there's no way. They're team working. Shay goes behind the podium. Chrissy goes right up and grab it. I mean, it was a mess, but it was not your mess. You did your best. I mean, that was excellent, Briana. Just the whole blocking of Chrissy. It was wonderful to watch.
Look, thank you. And look, this is, to be honest, literally shot myself in the foot then and there. How it was meant to play was, I made Shay read me the clue again. We had a look at the image. I saw exactly where that idol was. I wouldn't miss it. Unfortunately, Shay was confused. She thought it would look different. We had seen a picture of what it was going to look like, though. And the plan was that the rules explicitly stipulated that you cannot run for it until the last person sits down. So I was like, great. I will just be the last person to sit down for you, Shay. Watch me. The second I sit, you go. And that was all it was meant to be. Unfortunately, with the whole Shay not realizing that the clue was where the clue was, and Chrissy cracking onto it, again, unfortunately, my basketball knowledge, like a box out. Like you do that in the game about, like, that's no biggie. So I just literally boxed Chrissy out. And I was just like, all I did was like, step in front, boxed out. But and I was trying to, I really want it to be Shay's thing. I was, it's that line of, this is a great way to establish loyalty, to get involved and, be a player early. But also I was trying to, part of me was like, I should have just run and grabbed it myself because I saw where it was. And I had half the mind to, but I was like, no, this is like not my moment.
Yeah.
In the end, I went too hard too soon for someone I probably could have fought their own battles. But yeah.
Did you guys laugh about it when you got back to Tribe, or was it kind of a sour subject? Let's not bring that up and everything.
No, we were all laughing about it. We were all a bit like, oh, the game started, haha, wild, hilarious. Like everyone sort of thought, oh, a bit of fun. Like,
Well,
I think most people were pretty well humored about it.
I also have to ask, after that moment, that first tribal council where pretty much everyone got together, and even though Alex's name was on the chopping block, we saw Andy go home here. Were you aware of your position in the game? And the very next question I have is about the tackle box that everyone pointed out as well.
Yeah.
But after that first tribal, were you aware of your position in the game with Shay and the rest of the tribe, or was it still kind of up in the air based off how early it was in the game?
Yeah, so I think heading into that tribal, everything was quite up in the air. I think the clear things were that Andy was a threat. I think some people saw Nina as a threat, but she was really good at mitigating that and working with others. And I don't think at that point I was on the chopping block. Really, what put me on the chopping block was all my shenanigans that first tribal. So, all that, if I had just played it a little bit cooler, I think it could have been a different story for me. But I sort of dug my own grave definitely at that tribal.
So we have to get the truth behind the tackle box, because it was a big moment early in the game. Everyone pointed it out. Why is Briana checking the tackle box for an idol in front of everyone? So was that in front of everyone? Was this, I'm just going to get in and I'm going to look? Or was it kind of just the edit making it seem like you were just doing it in front of everyone?
Look, a bit of both. So a few people go, oh, Briana, blindside. No, it was not a blindside. I'm literally the whole episode being like, I'm on the bottom. What can I do here? So I was very aware after that first tribal council, not looking so good. I've absolutely self-sabotaged. What can I do to repair here? And there was two minds about it. Two minds are you find a bloody idol and you just go big and you have to play big the whole way, or you try to let someone else blow up and repair and just sort of slink into the shadows and not get too much attention, which is what my dad ended up doing. And because things turned out a little bit differently, that paid off sensationally for him. I mean, people were telling me, they're like, oh, you and your dad are the same person. Like, he did exactly what you did. I'm like, yes. His strategy of then sinking back into the shadows paid off. Mine, I sort of, so look, I did go idol hunting. And the truth of this tackle box was, yes, there was a lot of an edit to it because Khan actually searched it right before I did. And someone else, I think Chrissy searched it before Khan. So it was quite funny when I saw the edit of Khan going, oh, I can't believe she's searching the tackle. I'm like, mate, in real life, you searched it literally right before I did. So, and he actually said to me, and this is again where the edit has a lot of power. He actually was whispering in my ear, let me know if you find that it's something, let's use it together. So Khan at this point was very much playing that he was with me. He literally whispered that in my ear. It was also me not blatantly searching for an idol, but do it like people are like, oh, can you get this out? I'm like, yeah, let me get, but I'm also like searching because I know I'm on the bottom. And I've seen Khan search it, not find anything. And I've seen Chrissy search and not find anything. So I'm like, why not jump in third in line? Like, yeah. So that was probably the biggest thing that I think the edit sort of really misled people with. So yeah, but you know, it was a search for the idol. And then I had also gone off searching for the idol myself. And then that was where that moment was of, oh, do I just find it and go even harder and risk people really knowing, or do I try to play to stay and let someone else find it to hope they become a bigger threat? And I chose the latter option, which was actually the worst option. And I told Shay where the idol would be, and then she ended up finding it. And that whole thing about, oh, Brianna's going to steal it off Shay. Like, oh,
I was going to say that was my very next point, because everyone was saying, you know, we saw the confessionals and stuff, you know, you were on the bottom of the tribe. And like you said there, the stuff we don't see, we didn't know that you were the third person. They were making it out, you just right in front of everyone. But let's talk about that tree idol, because this is something I felt so bad for you, because everyone keeps saying, Khan's like, I have to grab it because Briana is going to grab it for herself and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I highly doubt that Briana in front of everyone is going to steal another person's idol. I mean, we see it later on in the season, but it wasn't in front of everyone. That would have been like target enemy number one if you just took it from her. So I was like, there's no way she's going to take Shay's idol here. No way.
Also, like, I have a smidgen of dignity and integrity, and I'm actually like a really loyal friend. So that was it. Like, Shay and I were generally friends. Like, and what I laugh is the edit's trying to make me this bad guy, and I'm literally like helping Shay. And you can just see, like, I think they tried to paint me in one light, but it didn't quite work for them, because Khan's all like, oh, she was just going to grab it. I'm like, do I look like someone who's just, I'm literally smiling, helping around, like, yeah, you can do it. Like, it was always going to be Shay's idol. And to be honest, it was Khan who was going to grab it more than anyone. So yeah, I mean, like, I'm like, oh, look, if you think that's what I'm doing, then sure. But there was never a scenario in my mind where I would have snatched that off Shay. Like, I just don't think that would have been a play.
It led to a tough tribal council to watch, because we all knew you were on the chopping block. And for what we know, you and Shay are like best friends on the island and everything. And so I was sitting there, I remember watching it. I'm like, oh, please, Shay, please play your idol for her. You even, based off the edit, right? So we see you give her a look, and then Shay just doesn't play it for you. Was there any expectation heading into that tribal? Because you said that you knew you were towards the bottom. You knew you were in trouble. And I even talked after the interview with your dad yesterday. He said you guys had like this sock secret code where you wore one sock up, one sock down, saying, I know I'm in trouble. Were you going into that tribal thinking I'm done for, or were you really expecting Shay to possibly play that idol for you?
Look, it was a mix. Yeah, we had the sock code, which genius. But anyway, it was
amazing.
Basically like I think it was after that first tribal, I was wearing my socks down the next time I saw Dad being like, I'm on the bottom. And I had every single person on that tribe lie to me. I was just really like, hey guys, like I'm really worried I've blown my foot. Like, honestly, am I on the bottom? And I was just trying to have like an honest chat because, you know, it just would have meant if I had some certainty, I would have done things a little bit. I would have just gone even. I just would have found that idol myself. I was just looking for a smidgen of certainty. Otherwise, I had to play the sink back game, but it was too late. I had to really go all out. So yeah, and that was the thing. And I was saying to Shay, I was like, Shay, look, like I'm on the bottom, like, and she was like, she just kept saying, don't be ridiculous. No one's brought your name up. No one's brought you. And we were genuine good friends. And I was like, look, like, if it got bad, do you think you would like play the idol for me so we can keep it too? And she's like, no one's even voting for you. Blah. And I like, yeah. And Khan was a big one too. Khan, you didn't see much in the edit, but he was actually trying to buddy up to me and was like, no one's voting for you. No one's voting. And again, I was like, I don't think I trust you. So thank goodness I didn't.
No offense.
That when I said, I hope Khan's not playing games here, because he was the big one lying to me as well. But I mean, everyone was on board. Everyone said, no, your name's not even come up. Your name's not even come up. And I was like, lies. Yeah. And so, look, I did go into that thinking there's 3 possibilities here. It's the case that you have to, and again, if you're playing to stay, you have to sort of think of the best will of people as well. So I was like, look, either everyone's telling me the truth and I'm fine, everyone's lying to me and I'm gone, or everyone's lying to me, but Shay plays this idol and we switch up the game. And look, the truth is, yeah, it was pretty accurate. I literally turned to Shay and say, Shay, all the votes are going on me. Can you play the idol? And yeah, and she just, yeah, exactly what you saw.
Yeah, that had to be a terrible feeling.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing was just that she knew and was along with it. I think the biggest betrayal was that she had lied to me so much. Like, she didn't really need to lie to me. She could have maybe just said, yeah, it's true, Briana, and then like gone with majority anyway. Or she could have not gone with majority. She didn't need to vote for me. So it was quite a big betrayal there, especially because she did do a lot of lying to me behind the scenes. And also, and then, you know, and if we did play that idol, Chrissy, I was the only one to like vote for her, and then she'd get any other votes and she makes it to top 3. So imagine, and there was such a set sort of click and dynamic with that tribe. If we had flipped that early on, that tribe started playing not too many episodes later, but there was this big culture of, oh, it was terrible if you knew anything about the game. It was terrible if you wanted to be there. You should think this is a joke. And, you know, like that was a bit of the like starting culture. So fans like me who are open, a lot of people hid. And that was what was encouraged in that tribe. But if you were open, like, yeah, I'm so happy to be there, that was like, oh, a bad thing. Not because people didn't like you, but just they thought, oh, threat. So, and an excuse to vote you out. And basically my small comments about Chrissy were enough to just nail me. Yeah, so I feel like I've rambled a little bit there. I've lost the main thought.
No, you're all good. So your Survivor journey comes to an end on day 5, unfortunately, and I am devastated to see you go. Multiple devastated. But it has to be kind of the surreal feeling, you know, being such a super fan. It has to be super tough. You know, that's all of our biggest fear is being out early in the game. But then you have the torch snuffing, which is like such a historic moment in the game of Survivor. So how difficult was it once you're leaving the game? Once you realize your time is up, the emotions that you go through, how difficult was that feeling?
It was crushing. And quite frankly, it was like absolutely crushing. It felt like I had a chance in my dream and all I wanted to achieve. And I had literally shot myself in the foot and I only had myself to blame. It felt like a failure, but I think I'm quite at peace with it now because you know what? I got to do it. I got to play as hard as I wanted to, even if it was like my own demise. I look back and I go, actually, I got everything I wanted to out of it. It was good entertainment. If the young me had watched me play that game, she would have been like, you know what? This chick's a bit of fun, going all out. Didn't work out for her, but she gave it everything she had. And I think for my personality, I can deal better with that than having not given enough. I think if I had, you know, because I could have been voted out at the exact same time and just had not had a confessional and had done nothing, and it could have been the same exact story. So I think, yeah, part of me goes, look, not the way I had hoped things had panned out. And I think in another tribe maybe or in other circumstances, I could have done better and I could have lasted longer and I had more to give, especially in terms of challenges. But ultimately it was like, look, I was just so excited to play that I gave too much too soon, but I learnt my lesson and I had fun.
I have to correct myself. That wasn't the end of your Survivor journey, because we actually see you later on as you visit video form. We got to see you again. I thought that was awesome to see. I'm like, I didn't know you were going to be in the video just because you played in the same season and everything, but you kind of brought it up earlier. I want to get your thoughts on the season as a whole and everything, being someone who I know loves and respects the game and what it's all about. But first off, I got to hear about what you thought about your dad's time in the game. Just because he was so emotional once he found out you were voted out. And I told him yesterday, I said, I know you made the family proud, because he played a phenomenal game, especially when he kind of shot himself in the foot. And he was like, he knew exactly what to do. He knew he needed to kind of take a step back and follow along for a little bit. So what was your full opinions on how your dad played the game?
Yeah, look, I said it in a lot of my like background stuff that Dad's my hero, and even more so now because look, he really did come on the experience for me and help me achieve my dreams. And the whole irony of it is, right before we entered in, he goes, Breesh, let's just hope I get voted out early, get to go back to work, and you get to stay the whole time. Irony, the exact opposite happens. I get voted off early, I have no work to go back to, and he gets to stay the whole time being on jury. So look, it was that bittersweet thing of, my dream not playing out how I had hoped, and Dad biting off more than, he thought he could chew, but he did so well with it. And I just think I loved, like, I cried. I bawled my little eyes out when I saw that episode 3 with Dad. And it just, it really does show, what a family man he is, and, how much our relationship means to us. That what he said about that transfer of the dream, I knew that, and I was like, I think it was really special this season of Blood vs. Water. And I think, sometimes you see the comments and like people are like, just take your emotions out of it. Impossible in Blood vs. Water. It feels like the Hunger Games. It feels like people die, because remember, you have zero contact. And I just knew that Dad was going to be so shattered to see me gone. But if there was someone to leave behind, it was good old Juicy Dave. And I just knew he'd be out there surviving, making us proud. And we were all just so proud of him. Like, he did some really smart moves. He outlasted. And to go from being first on the chopping block with most votes to sending home the Queen of Survivor, to being the last person on that tribe standing, to almost having a shot to win it if he had just told KJ to go vote for Geordie. Like, they had plans to go to the top 3. Incredible stuff. And it was really Dad just sort of stepping up to the occasion. And look, I was actually hoping for a win, because if you've watched any of the American seasons, you know that the people who end up winning often have a loved one leave super early on, and it's devastating for them, but it clicks them into that whatever it takes to win mode. And that was definitely Dad's mentality. Hence why his jury villa video was so emotional. And I was like, Dad, you just beat yourself up so much when you didn't have to, because I think the Blood vs. Water narrative probably hit hardest for us as a pairing, just because Dad just really wanted to like avenge me and get, my redemption through him doing well. And the fact that he felt like he'd failed the family, we're like, oh, Dad, nothing of the sort.
No.
It just showed how much he'd poured into this, and he really gave it everything he had to give.
I was full tears, his exit interview. And I don't cry a lot, but when he did his exit interview and he was still talking about how much the game meant to you, I was like, that meant the world to, I know it meant the world to you, but to me too, because of my relationship with my mom, I was kind of putting myself in that position, and it was just heartbreaking. But I love the game that he played. It would have been amazing to see you guys play together. It seemed robbed. The world was robbed of that. Would have been so much fun. I said yesterday, I think it would have been like a good cop, bad cop situation. Am I kind of right in my assessment there?
Totally. And I think I was saying, like, I think the idea was we're both pretty fun and social. Like, I hang out with my dad in real life. We get along like a house on fire. It definitely would have been the good cop, bad cop, but we could switch those positions at any time. Like, sometimes when Dad's in business mode, I'll like show other perspectives. When I'm pinging off the rails, he'll like be a good grounding force and pull me down a bit. So I think we would have been quite dynamic as a pairing, but also there's something about a father figure that's not very threatening. And I think, it's something, or maybe it's not that it's not threatening, but it's reassuring. I think us together might have been seen as like a bit of a power duo, but I think we could have covered quite a lot of grounds in terms of alliances. And, Dad would have, I think, reduced my threat level and like upped a bit of trust level as well.
It looked like everyone was shocked when Jonathan said, you guys won't be playing with your loved ones. We're going to split it up. Being a Survivor super fan, you had to expect that, right?
Oh, no, I literally Dad and I were like, we had never considered that we would be on the same tribe. And then because people were genuinely shocked and they're like, I can't believe, I'm like, how? Like if you Google,
like everyone should know this.
Dad and I had always expected to not be on the same tribe. So it was absolutely 0% shock to us. Yeah.
So I've got some fan questions here and we're going to get to them just in a second before we wrap everything up. But I do want to get really quickly your assessment on the whole season as a whole, all together, whether you thought it was a great season, maybe your favorite moments, and then put yourself on the jury villa, or not jury villa, excuse me, put yourself on the jury. Who would you end up giving your vote for from what you know about the final three?
Okay. Overall, great season. I mean, it was so good to watch. I think the strongest bits where it really hit home were the blood versus water narratives. I liked when they focused on that. I thought there was a few too many twists in saving people that sort of seemed a little unnecessary. And I think my knowledge of production, it seemed quite obvious, like who they'd paid to be there and who not, by who they saved. And sometimes I think we lose a bit of the game when we're just willy-nilly saving people left, right, and so I was like,
not a purgatory fan. Not a purgatory fan.
Well, no, to be honest, no. Get them out. They got voted off. No, because we've had a few times people get voted off and they come back in and win the thing, and it's because your threat level is being decreased because you were executed and then you're back as a ghost. And there's actually so much energy that goes into getting someone out and getting that you actually become forgotten because they've just got latched on to the next person. So yeah, look, to be honest, I do feel like I'm glad that someone who didn't get voted off ended up winning, because I do think it's a very hard game there. I mean, I'd probably change my tune if I was saved.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you were in that purgatory group, we would not be hearing this right now.
Oh, no, definitely not. But, as somebody who's not, but that's sort of my general opinion. And sometimes too, I think, I like the twist when someone's had to earn them a bit. I think when it's like, oh, no, guess what? You can get saved. And they're like, oh, sick. That's a little less exciting. Or to be honest, because of the previous seasons, I thought there would be a redemption island. Where if that's running the whole time you've got to play to be there, that I love, because that's but when it just pops up out of nowhere and it sort of feels a little bit, I'm like, give everyone equal opportunity, or these twists need to be a little bit more, I don't know, come from somewhere a bit.
Preach. You are preaching to the choir. Yes.
Yeah. I as a true fan, I'm like, I don't want to just see someone happen to get saved and they're like, oh, love that. No, they've either got to have earned it in some way, or it's something that's somewhat consistent, not just oh, big boost of luck. Yeah. So that's sort of my opinions on the whole thing. My other main gripe is that they do not show enough how much you actually have to survive. My dad didn't eat for 3 days. There was one sentence mentioning that, that's wild. You got to
broken ribs.
And 2 broken ribs, no Panadol. I had people coming up and be like, oh, but you get sleeping bags tonight. I'm like, no, did you not literally see us sleep in the dirt? It's wild how much you actually survive. And there was a lot of tears. I actually didn't cry about it, but there was a lot in the 5 days I was there. So many people in my tribe broke down crying. We didn't see any of that in the edit. We're all just sitting around laughing the whole time. And I'm like, okay, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that survival element and how that challenges people, because it also gives people a lot more grace when you do see people kind of act a little bit unhinged. It's like, you are your worst self out there. You are hangry, you are sleep deprived, you are paranoid, you have people behind you setting you up with paranoia. It's full on. Yeah, so that's it. But overall, loved watching the play. I love seeing some of the big moves. Sam's idol stealing was mind blowing. I mean, that's going down in the history books. I was just shook because I watched it with a few. We were doing a screening at the time, and we were just mind blown that anyone could even think of doing that, because you read the rules, and she was incredibly targeted in how she did that, because she had to do it that way for it to be official, because you can't actually just take it off someone stealing it. You've got to you have to pretty much have them handed over to you.
I still can't believe that no one believed that they had a second idol. It still blows my mind.
And honestly, well, that just goes to show the ultimate downfall with Geordie was he was just so untrustworthy. Like even when I was there, I'm like, mate, you got to have like a little bit more credibility, because what had happened was he originally was trying to go and work with them and was like, nah, brother's got the idea, and then changed his story when they weren't working with him, but then would go to everyone. But then I did love the thing with Dad was like, well, he's got to be telling the truth because he just hasn't let it go yet. And he was like, a smarter thing would have been to let it go if it was a lie. But Academy Awards all round. Hilarious that was even a thing. Loved the challenges. And yeah, I think everyone did a really good job out there. I would have loved to see Juicy Dave take the win. I think he was so close to it. I liked it when people stepped out and did things differently. If I was on the jury, my vote was definitely going towards Mark. I wasn't going to vote for someone who, you know, chanced upon it and had luck. It was going to always be someone who wanted to be there, someone who was out for redemption like Mark. You know, he'd not done so well in his first season, come back to win. And honestly, that couple, they played to win. Amazing him not saving his wife, because they knew that they could stack the odds. And that's blood versus water. That's playing incredibly strategically. And I knew from day dot that Mark was there to win, and he did whatever it took to win. And he was able to pull that off. And yeah, I think also you've got to think when you're in that audience, you've got to pitch your story for the jury. I think Shay's pitch was a lot about how she felt about herself, but that probably didn't resonate with the crowd. Chrissy's did a great pitch. She was amazing. And she had an amazing journey to get to there. But Mark really was what I think all Survivor fans wanted to see as a win. Yeah.
What will you take away from this entire experience? Because, you know, I say this every time. Casual fans don't look at this side of the game, but you leave the game with more than just the experience. You leave with memories that are going to last a lifetime. Yeah. You leave with friends that are going to last a lifetime. So what are you going to be leaving with after this experience?
Oh, good question. I think I'm going to say two things. And the first is that a new perspective and respect for anyone who does shows such as this. I will say that as someone who's a super fan, I had all my strategies, I had all this, I had my opinions on others, but nothing can show you the real deal like being there. And I think you cannot understand enough how much influence the edit has, how much you do not see, how much actually, like it's 24 hours and 24 different perspectives at all times. And I think to even analyze it, there's only so much truth in it. So it's really given me a new respect of how little I can say of what happens, because I just cannot see and never expect to see the whole picture. So it's given me a lot of respect for everyone who does it. And it's given me a little treasure. It's something I will treasure with Dad, a great experience, and just look, a bit of adventure. And it's a tick in my box of the bucket list of things I wanted to do with my life.
I love that answer. That was one of the best answers I've gotten so far.
Oh, so really?
I loved it. I loved it because that's what really makes this game, I think, is the experience you take. And like you said, the treasure of being able to take this journey of a lifetime and everything.
Yeah.
So absolutely love that. So we've got some fan questions for you here before I get to my final question. Okay. Right. So this comes from Chris D on Instagram. Thank you guys so much for sending in your questions as well. Thank you. Chris asked, what was the first meal you ate post-game?
Okay, so look, to be honest, I'm probably lucky I didn't survive very long. I lost 5 kilos in 5 days off my current physique, which isn't like, I don't have much to lose, to be fair. And I tried to, like, to be honest, I had a vegetarian salad.
Really?
But yeah. So there was like, they had like sort of snack or junk food around as well, like a bit of chocolate, bit of, I don't know, like cookies and things. But my stomach had just like shriveled up. Like I couldn't even finish my vegetarian salad. Like I was just full. Like, after eating this much.
The edit never shows the digestive issues. They never show, like, everyone's like, once you get out, you want to eat burgers and pizza and nachos. Trust me, you do not want to eat all that.
You can't. Like I literally, like, I was like, oh, like I was trying to do the whole smash thing. And I'm like, oh, I want to eat all this sugary, like, you know, and I was only there 5 days, so give me a break. It's like a week. But, you know, so really I should have just been like normal. But I actually, like, my appetite was sort of quite screwed for the next couple of days. Like, yeah, it's interesting how quickly the body responds.
Have you stopped eating any rice? Like the rice had to get old very fast.
No, actually, I love rice. I love a lot of eggs and So no, I haven't eaten any less rice. And I'm going to bean meals at points. So I think for me, the 5 days, wasn't quite enough to burn it out of my system.
And then we have a question here from Kirkpatrick, also on Instagram. This is a question I usually like to ask, but I know a lot of people don't like living with regrets in their life, and it's a great way to live. But he asked, do you have any regrets? And then would you do anything different, or what's the main thing you would do different given a second chance?
Okay, so to respond to that question, I would say, do I have regrets? And I'm thankfully now at the stage where I can say no. I was shattered when I left, and I think all I wanted to do was wish I had a different chance and had done everything differently. But now I look back and I go, you know what? I was only ever going to play this way the first time round. I wanted to show me. I wanted to show all of me. I wanted to prove myself. And that's not how you win Survivor. So look, did that, made good TV, 5 eps. Glad you said it was entertaining. That's kind of what I was there for. And went out with a bang, quite literally. So that I don't regret, because also while I was there, I really took in everything. I had the commitment to myself that I was like, I will not waste a minute or moment of this. I will not groan. I will not whinge. I will not wish I was elsewhere, because I don't know how long I will be here. And thank God, because I was only there 5 days. So nothing was wasted on me. I would, walk around at night. Like, I love being outdoors. I remember off camera, you'd walk off and there'd just be butterflies, like thousands of butterflies in the bush. And I would just really take it in and enjoy it. So I enjoyed the full experience. And I don't think there's anything I didn't get out of it, apart from a few more challenges. Would have loved to have done a few more because I loved them. In terms of what I would do differently, everything. I would not play the same way. I would go in a lot more measured, and definitely if I do it again, I would try to actually play to win, which is entirely different to how I did play. I played to be me and to, stand out. Yeah, next time I'll try to play to win the money.
I would have definitely loved to see you do one of the basketball challenges, because I've been told by Mila that she learned a lot of her game from you. And I asked Mila, I said, if you guys play nowadays, I think I asked you this as well while we were messaging. I said, if you guys played nowadays, how close would the game be?
Well, look, I have played her recently. I trained with her. There was a point where I was always a cracking shot. So I used to win. I did compete at nationals one year. I would win the state champs highest point scorer for my division.
Wow.
So I was a really good shot. I'd rarely miss. And that's where, Mila gets a good shooting from. So up until Mila was about, maybe she would have been under 14s, I could beat her in a shootout competition. But I remember the exact day she beat me, and I was like, I have fallen from my pedestal. Never again will I beat this one. And that was really the day where I just had nothing left on her. So that was the last thing where she could outplay me. She's a bit taller, bigger than I am. She could definitely beat me in one-on-one, but I could just beat her in a shooting contest. And I think because I was just a little bit in her head, living rent-free. But the day she beat me, I knew it was over. However, I do play club still, and I had a cracking game last night. I was highest point scorer. I got, I hit almost all my threes. I reckon I got I
was going to say, you still have the talent, don't you? You still have basketball in your blood.
Look, I'm a little bit rusty, but I've started warming up again because I haven't played for 7 years until this season. And then, now I'm cracking back on. So I'm like, bring it on, meals.
So if you guys ever, she just threw out the challenge, by the way. She just threw it out. But if you guys ever see her on a court, just beware, she will beat you at the game of basketball. So we always like to wrap up the podcast here. Very generic question. Okay. I don't get a lot of no's to this question. I've received one no. Okay. And this is, if you got the call to go back out and play again, we got to see Juicy Dave, a lot of Juicy Dave. Would we get to see more of Beast Briana?
Oh, Beast Briana, baddie beat out in the sea. Look, when I first left, the answer was yes, anything yes. I've had a little bit of distilling time, and I'm quite at peace with what happened. And look, the answer is yes, I would, but it is conditional now. It is that I would have to be in the place where it wouldn't come at the cost of what I was doing career-wise or other things. It is no longer my prime goal. Mm-hmm. It is something I've done and I've enjoyed. And I think if I ever get the chance, I could do better, but I don't need to. So yeah, an interesting answer. It's definitely different to what I had thought. In short, yes. In long, maybe.
Just depends on the moment and the circumstance and everything.
On the time. I think when the time is right, it's a definite yes. But someone was like, oh, would you go on again in September? And I have a feeling the answer then is no. Yeah.
Well, we'd love to see you back out there again and playing again. I think we would all love to see what happens when you play a little bit more of the game. And look, it worked out for Mark. Second time around, it could be the secret and everything.
And Sam, and you know what? Mark and Sam were so lovely to me. They're like, Briana, you just need a second chance. They were like, it happened to us. Don't worry.
Well, thank you so much again for joining us today. I have been looking forward to this talk ever since you did leave the game. I'm like, I can't wait to chat with her. And you're such an amazing person as well.
I've got one more question for you. What made you pick me as your winner vote? I'm curious. I'm also like,
I have this thing personally, and I told David this. I see a lot of myself in you, and possibly being the exact same Survivor player, because he said that you told him, before I die, I will play Survivor. I said that exact line to my family.
Yeah, I'm like, when are you on, mate? Get in there.
And I just, honestly, I just saw you as a strategic threat in the game, which I was right. I was right on that behalf. But I also knew once the tackle box happened, I went, this is not looking good for my winner pick. Well, also, where can everyone find you on socials? And also shout out to your podcast. Where can they listen to your podcast?
Yeah, please. So follow me at Briana Goodchild, and it's Briana, just the one N. You can also find me skating around at Crash Bambi Scoot. Very fun times. If you like the roller skating, or even if you don't, it's going to cover your feet. And in terms of podcasting, I do stuff for Basketball Queensland or NBL1.North. And we do weekly podcasts there. And the season starts back literally next week. So I'll be commentating, calling the play-by-plays. It's a big season. And my sister, Mila, has officially announced she's coming back to play for one of our teams in that conference, Mackay.
I was wondering about that. I heard about this big announcement today.
Yes. So I'm so stoked because I'm like, love this. I get to commentate my sister playing. So it's going to be wild. And it's such a good league. Oh my gosh. It's worth, you can watch live via nbl1.com.au. And the league is massive, big players in it. Goes off.
From one dream to another, you go from Survivor and now you get to commentate your sister playing basketball. Briana, you're on top of the world right now.
Well, look, yes, let's say yes.
Well, thank you so much again for joining us. It was a pleasure speaking with you. And I've now interviewed pretty much all the family that has correlation to Survivor.
Goodchild. My brother, my mom, done.
If I ever make it out to Australia, which I've done ever since watching the show, I've done so much research. The country looks beautiful. I've never been out there. I got to hit up the family. I got to meet the rest of the family now.
Yeah, honestly, give us a bell. We will.
Thank you so much for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your day, Briana.
You too. Thanks so much, Randy. It's been a pleasure.